Oh, another one that's a great story of how things were well overhyped. I don't know how many people, but this is probably the most famous one. Uh, but of the Amazon just grab and go stores, wherein the idea was it's just going to be this little bodega. You go in, you grab everything that you want, and you just walk out the door, and it's going to just charge your account. And then they found out that AI means always Indians, because what was really happening is largely, yes, they were running the software, but they had about 1,000 Indian contractors that were watching cameras in the store and paying attention to what customers would buy and then tally up the totals to charge to their accounts. And that was over 70% of the time, it was human beings that were making those determinations and not the software.
So yeah, you replaced one cashier with about 10 guys behind a camera.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I mean, yes, the labor was cheaper, but you might as well have just done that then.
Yeah.
Instead of lying and saying that this was some amazing narrow AI that could handle this, because it couldn't. They don't talk about these stores anymore.
Yeah. You know what would be awesome is if they did come up with Hal and he had an Indian voice. There's
Oh no.
I'm not sure if that's ironic or not. I get confused on irony now.
It could be. I could see that as that maybe they'll make a reboot of.
Yeah, and
They'll
then you
make
see it behind the scenes, and
they'll
there
make
isn't.
Hal more diverse.
Yeah. Well, not just that. It's like it turns out that there's actually 20 guys back on Earth in a control room that are Hal, and really Hal doesn't exist.
They're contractors.
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh, that would be so funny.
Okay. So if you play, I know you've done a little bit. I probably did a little bit more, but being artistically challenged, if you play, how much have you played around with the AI art generators?
Okay, I've done a little bit of it.
Yeah.
It's it, it's baubles to me. It's just like, okay, that's cute.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't. It's nothing that's awe-inspiring. I'm like, okay, you clearly took this from, except for when they do things with people, and then they're just nightmare fuel.
Mm-hmm.
So they usually it's something very creepy to all of it. Um, and I've seen videos and people fawn over them, but I'm like, no, this everything is still very uncanny valley to me.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
Um,
mean, it's it was intriguing to me at first, but very quickly you start saying, okay, yeah. I mean, unless you really get into playing with the background styles, it's very clear every time. It's like, oh, okay, you generated this with AI. Yeah, you generated this with AI.
yeah,
I can see that. And
I
I mean, you can make it look better. There's no doubt about it. But it's one of those things is the better you want to make it. Well, actually, it's probably the exact same scale we were talking before. The more effort I put into it, I start getting tiny incremental improvements. So if I do the
right.
initial sit down, it's like, oh, okay, yeah, okay, it fills a need, but boy, it sure could look better. So you dick around for another hour, and it's like, okay, yeah, it's still AI, and now there's five fingers. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, this is 10% better than what I had an hour ago.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that I think is really funny about AI too. Well, the chatbots and the image generation is that when we first got in computing as Gen Xers and everything, everything was command line.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you wanted to use computers, you had to learn a bunch of very complicated different commands to do different things so that you could make it do stuff. And to some people, it was worth learning how to do that, but that was definitely a minority.
Mm-hmm.
And then they created graphical user interfaces to bypass that so that you did not have to learn complicated commands to do things that you wanted it to do. And now with ChatGPT and what have you, we are right back to complicated command lines to try and get it to do what you want it to do.
Yeah. Yep, it is. I mean, yeah, you're speaking. I mean, you don't have. Well, I guess to a certain extent, it is like code because there are specific chunks of verbiage. If you learn how and where to use it, you can get a little bit more bang for your buck. I mean, because I mean, obviously, some people really get some good product out of that, but I just wonder how much time they're putting up on the front end of it to make it worth their while.
Well, I know for sure you have seen the reams and reams of different possible prompts that you might use for different products like Midjourney or whatever.
Mhm.
And all of them are different, but then you end up doing things that look like command lines where you go,
Yeah,
HDR camera Canon from 1972, or it just
yeah,
sepia tone. You
mhm,
you might as well be
yeah, yeah.
you
No,
might as well be doing Linux commands now,
it,
man.
there's some similarities. Yeah, this it's definitely. Yeah, kind of going back around to the beginning again. So I know one of the things that ends up because hey, it's just the stupid way my brain works, and anybody who watches my videos probably at times goes, "What on earth is that imagery you're using, and why are you doing that?" Well, because what happens is when I'm doing the verbiage stuff, I get something in my head. I'm like, oh, I see this thing in my head, and that would look really cool for this. And so I try searching for it. And it's like, okay, it doesn't really exist like that. And unfortunately, what happens is then I say, well, I can get something pretty close to that. So now that I know I can do that, it's like, okay, I'm going to do that. And so then you basically start throwing the prompts into the AI, and it starts turning into a rabbit hole because it's like, ooh, that's not what I was thinking at all. It's like, okay, let's tweak, and it ends up to the point where suddenly you're like, wait a minute, I'm throwing more time into this. Yeah, I'm not saving myself time because initially, see, if I throw out a prompt and go good enough and walk away, I've saved myself time because I don't have to go sifting through images to find the thing that's roughly describing what I'm doing. But if my brain gets stuck on that little tiny thing up there and I have to go follow it through, also like going, oh man, the sun's coming up. I need to stop doing this. Because it's not quite that bad,
Oh,
but
here no, and this is another just wasted productivity trying to chase that rabbit hole because it does hit you from time to time where you get angry and you're like, no, I want this, and I've even in my own work, I have chased a rabbit going like, no, I want you to tell me these things. I know that you've sucked down all the internet. You should be able to tell me how to do this code thing. And I don't know if this is something that you see in image generation, but I definitely see it when I'm trying to test like code generation, is that it will completely forget what I said
yes.
all the time. Where it was like, well, did you check this, or did you mean this? And I was like, we've gone over this. You already know what these settings are. That this thing is, and it will ask you again and again to check things that you've already verified,
Oh
or
yeah,
So
yeah. No, I was I was making a desperate. I I'll remember really obscure movies or an episode of TV or something happened a long time ago, and something's up there. It's like I keep remembering this. Why is it there? So I want to know where this at least came from. So I figure, oh, okay, Chat GPT. I'd give it a scene. Like, okay, here's what happened. And it would literally come back, like, I'd say, okay, yeah, it's from a spy movie, but it absolutely positively is not James Bond. Oh, did you think this could be the spy who loved me? He's like, okay, jackass, I just told you it's not 007. I mean, and it'll sit there and go through, where it'll cycle through and keep doing it. And the funny thing was that when it came down to it, I ended up finding this Aussie website where you just basically type in a paragraph describing what you saw, and a bunch of other autists come out and say, "Hey, this one from 1979 that aired twice." Oh, how on earth do you know that? And it's like, oh, okay, because they're like me.
What's Quentin Tarantino's handle on that? I'm assuming that he has a handle on that website.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Just talking about autistic movie guys,
Mhm.
but yeah,
Okay, so
it's just not. It's not good.
So
It's not. It's not the here.
so where do you think? How about AI video? Now I'm starting to see some interesting stuff, but I mean, it's awesome from the perspective where you go, oh wow, what they just did there was pretty cool. But it's like, but on the other hand, this isn't going to replace anything anytime soon. It doesn't seem like now. At least what I'm seeing is people essentially reinterpreting, like, here's what Star Trek would have looked like set in the 1950s movie, and then you start seeing like this mashup of Star Trek and 50s retro sci-fi. And it's like, oh, okay, that's intriguing, and they're moving around, and they're making motions, but it's like that's a wow, but it's not a I'm going to sit there and watch this because there isn't enough of it. I mean, where are we at? Do you think in terms of being able to do like maybe like an AI primitive animation movie?
Um, if we're talking just video, maybe. Maybe I. The thing is, I haven't seen it very good at keeping a style together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It a lot of, and I mean they look cool, but a lot of times you're like going, okay, the style is changing, and maybe you'd create a story around that, but
Yeah. Well,
uh,
well,
but if you wanted to maintain the same animation style throughout a say a half hour film, I don't know if it can do that.
yeah, not at this time. You've probably seen recently they're showing the dancing AI girl, and
No.
she's doing some kind of, I don't know what they took it from, but literally as she's dancing, her outfit is changing, her
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah,
face
yeah.
is changing, everything else like that, because the AI just can't handle it, and then the band in the background is the ultimate uncanny valley because like none of them look like they are doing anything a human being would be doing. So, but
Yeah, it's interesting looking and fun, but it's not something that I could see watching a whole show and being engaged. And the second part is I haven't seen in voice them really nail this. Because like I can get uh gigabytes of your voice, and I can train an AI to sound like you, but to just type up a script and expect it to be able to do proper inflections, when you're supposed to sound angry,
mhm.
when are you supposed to sound happy, it can't
Yeah,
infer from the words what it's supposed to do. Oh, still only human. So even if you made an animated feature and you could make it all look good, you would still have to have probably human voice actors
right.
if you
Yeah,
wanted to be any good.
yeah. I have seen a couple people doing things with What they do is they are taking text from old books and essentially having some kind of reader, not a human, but
Hmm.
a AI-ish reader do the reading. And because there's times where it's like, oh, okay, I'm listening to and all of a sudden you like hear these awful pronunciations where you're like, oh it's just it's
Yeah.
mechanical. I mean, it's a neat idea. That's a really neat way of digitizing things. Like seeing a bunch of them where it's like soldiers' journals from World War I and World War II and the Civil War and stuff. So it's just like,
Right.
oh yeah, here's an hour of this person going through the journal. And it's like, okay, because that would have been really hard to do otherwise. So I can see that as being some value, but that's not even really AI.
Well, what we're getting a lot of, you've seen all these. It's annoying to me that YouTube has decided to push YouTube Shorts
Yep.
over more long form stuff. But we've all seen these AI videos now of like, things that you didn't know about Athens, Greece. And it's always the same guy with the
Yep.
same tone. And like, and
And I
so, and I know exactly how that's done. I could write a script to do that. I just don't know if it's worth trying to. I don't know how you get up in the shorts to get monetization to make that worth doing.
yeah, I don't know.
Somebody's doing it though.
I don't know if there's much monetization off because I know I was listening to the panel on Friday Night Tights talking about the specific thing is they're being driven to the shorts, and a lot of them are picking them up, and I think most of them are really using it either to drive people to product or drive people to their long form sites.